This is the Audi A7 in S-Line, sporty trim, tango red color. But there's something more special about this one. This is the new A7 PHEV, the plug-in hybrid vehicle. And we'll tell you all about it here on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars right here. Then this one here, an exterior, interior and a driving experience, as you know it, Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. Well, in the front, the A7 looks really sporty, maybe even more so from the side profile. Decide that yourself very soon. Sensors are here, so big sensor units, but the good thing is that you have the Audi logo then still in 3D. I think, that would be very important to me. S-Line with a sportier lower bumper, then those headlamps, also horizontal style, pretty slim. LED, matrix LED, laser light, and that's the top laser light you can see here with the blue accentuations and this tango red color. I always prefer a strong Thomas blue, but here in tango red it looks pretty attractive because it's also a very strong red tone, and you cannot see it from the outside that this one here is the PHEV version. We'll fill you in with all details what makes this one special. The length of an Audi A7 is 4.96 m, 16'3" or 195 inches. And the wheel size vary from 17 to 22 inch with the RS, for example, recently presented to you. And yeah, we had this RS7 recently, and this really looked amazing as for the wheels, 22 inch. And those ones are amazingly 20 inch, which would be a good compromise visually and also still from the comfort, because when you have a little bit more tire left, that's better for the comfort, for the rolling comfort. It's strange that this car looks, those 20 inch wheels look small than relatively on this car, but still, I think it's a good compromise, visual and comfort. S-Line badge right there, and then also you get some sportier lower spoilers, and I think this car looks really very well integrated from the whole design. This falling roofline right there, the fastback style, then very sharp from this coupe style ending, strong shoulders. So this one here, the A7 in general, is one of my favorite Audis at the moment, just from the pure design factor. So I really love this car from the exterior. Yeah, and when you see it again later in the trunk, it's also somewhat still flexible if you compare it to a classic sedan. What's your take here, especially with, the black frames? Then I like chrome frames to be more elegant, but in this case here, the S-Line with this shadow pack also brings a little bit more, sportiness to it. In the rear here, and very impressive styling, almost like a yacht, like those expensive boats. And the signature here goes all the way across the vehicle, and then those vertical light fins in there. So also beautiful job. S-Line with the black accentuation then in the lower part, and that's really interesting. There are no fake exhaust whatsoever, so the rear one is just underneath. I think that's a good decision. Yeah, why not putting in design element in the lower part? It does not always have to be fake exhaust. Well done. And you guys want to see more of signatures here, also for the turning indicators. There you can see those. They are also in those, cascading style. The only thing you can see that this one is the PHEV. See TFSI E as for the badge there. And was also interesting specifically to this PHEV version. Yeah, there's at least one compromise. So there's no rear axle steering available for the PHEV versions. It's a good option for those large cars because it feels like they will be smaller when driving. But again, packaging reasons prevent it from happening here. Oh, and of course, a favorite feature is always this foldable wing. Yeah, you can show off to your friends. That's probably the most important about it, right? Yeah, of course, and you might need more downforce with this fastback style when you're on the Autobahn. So this 14 kilowatt hour battery you can recharge here with a 7.4 kilowatt AC charger. That would be the maximum power you can put in there. That would, of course, then just calculate take 2 hours if you have a big wall box or a public charging station. Or, I mean, it's a PHEV. You can also charge this at home, let it stand overnight, and then it's also full too. And the approximate range is somewhat 50 kilometers pure electric. That's about 35 miles. And it always depends, how we drive it, steady or really giving it a push. And you can pick between driving pure electric or in a hybrid mode. So you can use both, whatever you prefer and what's your driving profile. If you're maybe commuting to work in a short way every day, that might make sense to drive pure electric. Then on the weekend, also with combustion engine. Or if you're on a longer trip, then maybe use the hybrid mode and, put down the fuel consumption overall. But both is possible. So what do we have under the hood right here? Here in this A7 PHEV, they use a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine, either the 50 TFSI with 299 horsepower system power output, or this one here, the 55 TFSI with 367 horsepower. In this case, also with the Quattro Ultra all-wheel drive, that means front plus rear-wheel drive on demand, so the rear axle can actually be decoupled for more efficiency. That's also the reason why they went for this system. So it's not the classic all-wheel drive with the rear-wheel bias, so rather a front-wheel bias definitely. Different decision for the A8 and the Q7 PHEV. The Q5 and here the A7 PHEV, they go for this newer system, and we'll find out very soon in the driving review if this one will still be agile to drive or not. This is the car key, slim and light, nothing new. Then this one here, of course, frameless, emotional, and it's also good for getting in and out of the car, definitely. And there's, dual insulation layer from the glass, and it has a decent door closing sound, although it's a coupe. Of course, those ones are always better when they have frames, but this one also has the option of a soft close. Ah, magic. Well, and then rest of the interior. The door pockets are rather slim, but everything has a great build quality. Also here, like the buttons for the memory seating. Always a nice clicking sound and everything galvanized and so on. So this is really very well done. The S-Line also for the interior, with the entry badge and also with the sportier S-Line steering wheel, for example, we have there too. And seats, at least in Europe, they start also with fabric base, the base seats. Then this one here is the sport seat. This is also then available with Alcantara on the inside. We would recommend an option that would be the S sport seat available with the integrated head restraint. But either I would take this one with the Alcantara or a base seat to have a little bit more comfort. Audi still uses a lot of animal skin materials in their big cars, but it will change over the next years. Then let's get inside. And when I put the seat here to the lowest position, I played a little bit with the memory seat, but then there were other stuff set. So when I put it all the way lower, the A7 does have a very flat A-pillar, yes, but still it works with one of these 86 or 6 with 1, especially if there's no panoramic roof, which is available also for this car optionally. Steering wheel can be set manual here. You have to pay extra for it if you want to have an electric. Yes, they almost make everything optional, so it goes really high in the price then. But seating position is still cool and comfortable, especially if you don't have the super sport seats. We recently had in the RS7, and I was sitting in there, it's like why? Why reducing the comfort of the car just for like those visual purposes? Those base sport seats will also do just fine, and they give you more long-term comfort as well. If you want more comfort, there are also even more comfortable seats available than those ones, but they already do it quite well. Also for tall people, you will find a good seating position right there. And indeed, you feel always a little bit more emotional than in the A6 when you sit in the A7. They are not too different, those two cars. But this flatter A-pillar makes it a little bit sportier, and when you sit on the inside, you already know, yeah, I got this really beautiful car on the exterior. Somehow you know it, and then it also influences your opinion when you sit on the inside. Now the interior overview. Everything is wrapped tightly, reminds a little bit of Porsche. Then horizontal stress right there, and this huge console here, and you might think having breakfast on that one, but there's one rule also with me: no food in the car ever. Yeah, sorry about that. Then quattro logo will be illuminated at night, and a lot of black piano use is there. And the overall screen setup is that in the middle part, you in some markets start with a smaller 8-inch screen. Then this one here is a 10.1-inch screen. For some trims and markets standard, and the lower one is 8.6-inch, and they form, so to say, one unit, all done via touch. And on the left side, here, steering wheel with a volume control. There's a voice button, soon showing you some functions of that. On the left side then, usually with the left thumb, then you control the virtual instruments, and they are pretty cool. One of the best on the market, clear to read, a lot of functions. And here you can see the electric range and the fuel range at the moment. And yeah, 50 kilometer prediction is actually quite nice. And then the view right there, you can switch it around, and also have the map view right here all over the place. I also prefer it when it's not satellite view, actually, because this one is just clearer to read, and then I can also just let go of the fancy satellite view. I just want that it's clearer to read, that I can navigate a little bit better. So, and then, of course, while driving, we'll also check out how this one plays out for the range and for consumption and so on the EV side. Some details here on the screen. You can see here I connected with wireless CarPlay at the moment, alternatively cable with Android Auto, and well, the sound system here, the Bang & Olufsen sound system, is pretty decent. Great surround sound. Nice. Really nice. And try out that song, definitely. Then I recently updated also the CarPlay iOS there. They can see how it looks like. It's very well integrated, almost uses all of the screen. That would be the Apple CarPlay map, but I have deactivated it at the moment. Then you can go back to the Audi MMI right there. Also, the menu structure is pretty clear. I like that. So it's so important because you don't have like a central control knob yet. Therefore, it's so important that everything is really easy to understand and access here. Then back again to the CarPlay menu. Car, that would be, for example, drive select is interesting. We have the adaptive suspension in here, not the air suspension today, but it adapts then depending on the driving mode still. And the GPS, the main one here. Again, I prefer the non-satellite view. Usually with Audis, we also have the satellite view. Could be a little bit more responsive, definitely, but it shows you the way very well. And, also how you can, browse inside the map right there. And then everything is pretty much self-explanatory right there. And in the lower part, by the way, you have then the AC unit mainly, with controlling the vent strength. You can also slide or click, both is possible. I deactivate the haptic feedback, that they don't have to press in, but just click slightly, like with a smartphone. I always do it in all Audi cars, the first thing I deactivate. Seat heating is available here, optional also then a steering wheel heating. That's a fancy option for the winter time. And there's also this EV button mode. Then in the top part again, you get a feedback if you are in the hybrid mode or if you are in the pure EV mode. You can switch it around depending on what you like better. Or also battery hold, that you hold the battery status if you need the EV driving for later. This is not efficient. It's more efficient, of course, to drive pure electric and then recharge, or use the hybrid mode to assist the petrol engine, with recuperation that is being done, and so on and so on. So, and for some strange reason for the voice input to work, I had to switch the language to German now, that it works with the German city. Not sure why is that. Fahre mich nach Berlin. So I said, drive me to Berlin. Let's see. There we go. So now it suggests Berlin here, and I can say line number 1, or I just press it then, and then the GPS is also starting. So that would be one example for the voice input usage. You can also set the temperature, for example. That would be another alternative. Other than that, you can also use the lower pad for the input, and then you have either the keyboard, or you can write stuff right there, like Berlin, like this. And that was an awesome handwriting, wasn't it? Yeah, okay, it was not, I admit. So that also works. So you can also play around with it. It's actually a pretty helpful input, but more, of course, when standing still. On the other hand, I'm really happy that I don't have to select again like with B, turn, E, R. So voice input or writing like this is pretty helpful. So, and now let's move on further right down. Shifting lever here, then nice aluminum cover, matte also. You can hear how it feels. Adaptive cup holders, they are not too big though if you want some bigger bottles or holders in there. And then for putting your smartphone with the inductive charging, there is this really very fixed armrest, inductive charging pad for your smartphone, and 2 USB-A devices. Now to the head-up display. This is a very interesting option. And head-up display with wipers today because of the rain. That looks fancy. Then you have like this off-road stance at the moment, so it will have some more detailed GPS input when the route is running. There's current speed, allow speed will also be shown when there's traffic signs recognized, and also some assistance systems info. What about the rear? Well, no compromise on the rear bench as for the height or something, also for the PHEV version. Of course, the A7 does not have the best package as for exterior length dimensions and the interior space you have, but you can still get along. Also frameless, of course, and it works legroom-wise to the seat as I would be driving. Car is long enough, of course. And headroom-wise, yeah, that still also works. I can put a hand over my head with 1.86 or 6 with 1. So it's still, decent in the comfort. Although, of course, in SUV you have more space available, then everything's more upright. But at some point, the sporty form, yeah, okay. Or on the A6 Avant, for example, you maybe sit a little bit better, and this rear bench is also falling backwards just a little bit, but overall the comfort is fine, I think. Isofix at the outside of the seats. You have this foldable armrest with some cup holders, which are also adaptive. You can use this one as a ski hatch, and you can also flip the whole bench already from here, like there, in a 3-part split, and overall huge middle tunnel. So to sit in the middle part is not comfortable. Also, you sit too high, you hit your head on the ceiling. So this is more for just temporary use. Other than that, use the outside parts each, and there are 2 USB supplies here in the rear next to a 12-watt power supply, and if you want, also a separate AC unit. Short look at the trunk right here. There we go, and well, there's another compromise, but you can live with it because there's no additional cover you can lift there because the battery is placed below here. But again, everything else is very well usable because also at the width and for the length right there, this one here, as I recently learned, is a sun visor, against the sun. I was thinking, like putting some stuff in here, but maybe that's possible, like, for, I was joking, like with toilet paper rolls, what people used in the 70s or something. But this against the sun then, indeed. You can also remove this whole cover if you like. But you can see you have a nice compromise here actually between having a sporty car on the exterior but still have this fastback opening to be a little bit more flexible. And then if you can load this one through, it really goes almost up to 2 meters in length then, and that's also pretty flexible. Although then, especially here with the PHEV, there is somewhat a small step, but you can also live with that. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Audi A7 PHEV. Here the 55 TFSI E. It's funny because in Germany when we say E, it's like, disgusting, E, The letter E sounds like the expression for disgusting in Germany. So TFSI E.
Jetzt rechts abbiegen.
Oh yeah, I will
Jetzt rechts abbiegen.
Deactivate the GPS announcement. See how well I get along with the system meanwhile, so I can find anything I want to have pretty easily. Still, I have to touch things while driving. That's always, something. So, the suggested range for fuel tank full battery is 510 kilometers on fuel and about 50 kilometers on electric. That is, about 320 miles on fuel and about 30 miles on the electric. And I think you can definitely live with that. And so cool to drive an A7 all silent, all electric. And I really like the light but yet progressive and agile steering they have here standard in the A7. This is really cool. I mean, it feels light, but at the same time it feels sporty and direct, and there's no dead zone, so every little command is being transported to the road. At the same time, I looked through the head-up display here, and that is really cool. I have even like a visualization of the next intersection, so that really helps me. And locally we are emission free. We know there are still emissions, especially in production of batteries, that's clear. So you have to use that car over a while to even that out. But especially in the city, it makes sense then to have some more clear elements, so to say. And I can also compare this one to the Q7 PHEV I've just been driving here on the same day. This one will also be very interesting. And the A7 in general, it is a long car, it's a big car, but it feels very light and agile. And the cool thing about those electric or part electric drivetrains is, although they add about 300 kilograms of extra weight, they make the car feel lighter. And that's something, like, what? What the hell is he talking about? Yeah, I mean, if you think about like braking or something, or handling, would say, yeah, the additional weight. But then again, sometimes weight is also not bad, as for example, weight balance of the car at some point. And also when the weight is put in very low of the vehicle, it's not an all-electric platform, so you cannot use all that advantage. But the thing that makes this car more appeal light is that you can accelerate silently, that you have this tranquility here, especially when there's stop and go and traffic light and so on. So that's pretty cool, and this just makes you feel relaxed, and this is definitely something pretty cool to me. And here, indeed, that was different in the Q7, for example. I can use this car here. The acceleration from the all-electric drivetrain is okay. Also has not only for rolling and coasting and so on. Even if I want to accelerate just a little bit, that's actually fine, So I'm cool with that. So this is enough, indeed, to have an electric acceleration even here onto the motorway. However, if I want like the pure acceleration, the real one, then we would need something else. I can always see now the combustion engine is being activated, and you do notice that somehow, yes, but it's very well insulated from the cabin, really silent, so hard to notice it, and the transitions are also very well done between those driving modes. If I'm in the EV mode, I can try to induce that even more, or in the hybrid mode, then the car is more deciding on its own. But also both modes are, not too different, because at some point when I accelerate too hard, it will jump on with the combustion engine, and at some point, when you're just rolling or coasting, the electric drivetrain will be active. So it's always a question what big difference it does make. They also here at Audi say we don't use the shifting pedals for recuperation change. They rather want to set a tone on rolling and coasting when there's just free run, and using this predictive assistant from the ACC to reduce the speed, and then also recuperate when this assistant sees, oh, there's an intersection coming, there's a roundabout coming, you gotta use an exit, there's something coming where you need to reduce speed, and then also recuperation is being used. And of course also when you hit the brakes, then also first the recuperation is being used, regenerative braking, so energy back to the battery, and then the actual car brakes are being applied if I want some, serious braking power. And I think you can understand that concept. In the PHEV maybe you don't need this one pedal driving feeling, so this just feels like a normal A7 to drive. And I've been driving the A7 in different versions, here also with the 3-liter TFSI 6-cylinder petrol, which was a lot of fun. Also recently in the S7 with the 3-liter diesel, also the 6-cylinder. Well, and now, wait a minute. No, it was the A6 Avant I drove with the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, but also, platform and size-wise comparable cars, definitely. And that was actually also okay power-wise, but the 3 to 6-cylinder is of course a lot of fun in this car here, especially in the petrol version here from the A7. But you have some significant boost together when you combine electric drive and the combustion engine. I will also test it out very soon. First of all, when we are on the motorway, what power do we get when we're already rolling? And then later on also again from the standstill, so stay tuned to that, because that's even more interesting, I can tell you, because this electric power boost is very efficient, especially from the get-go, where the combustion engine maybe needs a half a second to really set in. The combustion engine then, of course, a little bit better here on, for example, motorway situation. Oh, that's really narrow with that truck there. For example, at the moment, I can also see it in this green visualization in the virtual instruments, just on the electric drive, because I'm rather rolling and coasting. So they don't need more power from the proper combustion engine. And that's something also that would work even if you have not recharged the car properly, or maybe it's already depleted from the battery and then you using the combustion engine maybe, but then you may be braking a little bit, gain back some energy. Then the engine is used just for the rolling, even though there's not much power needed, and so on and so on. So we had that experience when we were driving the Porsche Panamera plug-in hybrid, for example, for a longer time, that it was making sense definitely, even though the battery was depleted. However, if you're driving with depleted battery all the time and not recharge it, then probably you don't need a PHEV. So here again, really silent on the motorway, great motorway vehicle. We can also, not sure why they, for this test vehicle fleet here, they changed all the assistance systems to off. No idea why. Where was that again? Yeah, that's now something where it's like I'm trying to find something vehicle and then there, assistant. I'm rather, now maximum assistance, because then I can see this is the blind spot monitor, very nicely integrated, and as soon as this Audi Q5 in the previous generation is passing it, those one had very beautiful daytime running lights, guys. Maybe you can see it on this camera here now when it's passing. Here also the blind spot monitor as well. Yeah, previous gen Q5, why not? So, and what I want to show you right now is we go to the dynamic mode, because in the dynamic mode, this drive select doing it while driving is somehow not that good. And now dynamic mode, both combustion engine and electric power gets, the biggest boost together. And we are starting, always safely, maybe after this T6, from 80 kilometers an hour, and let's go. Plop, that's 130 kilometers an hour already. So a great boost, and performance-wise, you're not saying this is a boring 2-liter 4-cylinder, because you have this electric boost. You still have enough power, and the first second you accelerate, then you feel there's this extra electric boost, and then the combustion engine really sets in. So this is very interesting, and this car really remains very stable, also at higher speeds, and we're now at 150 kilometers an hour, and I hardly have to raise my voice against any wind noise or something. It's super relaxed, super well balanced, so the driving performance of this car in agility and how calm it is just amazing. So I really love that with the A7, and somehow, the A7 is always put a little bit lower than the A6, for example, both sedan and Avant, and maybe it's just some nuances, but the A7 somehow already feels a little bit sportier. Maybe it's just a little bit that the design is also tricking you, but I always feel it's a little bit sportier. Maybe on a subjective level, no, but somehow it is. Maybe it's a little bit lower suspension. I can really finely tune feel or something. steering setup here and so on. But it's always a lot of fun, and it's indeed one of the big cars I have most fun with, because sometimes you have only small vehicles which are a lot of fun because they're lower in weight. This one here, especially as the PHEV, pretty heavy vehicle, but still, this extra weight from the battery is not something I perceive as negative, because you have this additional electric drive thing, can have a lot of fun with that, but still you can drive it in a very dynamic way, especially when you combine both powertrains. And great handling once again. Assistant systems once more. The adaptive cruise control is keeping the speed and distance then to the car in front of you. And this one with the predictive assistant, by the way, also works when the ACC is not set. Experienced that, for example, when I was heading towards a village and then the car was reducing the speed, although I didn't have the ACC turned on, and then also used the recuperation. And that's also their strategy here for the PHEV especially, to combine this predictive assistant for the speed with the recuperation, and then not offering recuperation changes via the shifting levers. That's indeed for the gears, for the combustion engine still, that they can put the gears lower there and have like a spontaneous acceleration. See it with Jonas next to me like, yeah, way to go. So pretty nice as for the acceleration power. And maybe I'll find a spot where I can hold the car in a safe way and then accelerate out in this dynamic mode again, and you'll probably be amazed on how fast this car is going, although it's just this 2-liter 4-cylinder engine in there. So this PHEV, of course, when you have the right infrastructure for that, when you have the user case for that, maybe commuting to the weekend, longer ways on the weekend, but it can also be a performance alternative, maybe then in combination with tax or like those subsidiaries benefits, or maybe it's just like prone to technology, because it's always something more interesting here, and being even more silent in between, that's pretty cool. Here the dynamic mode doesn't make much sense at the moment. I can go back to the auto mode, then immediately the car also switches to the electric one, and we're just rolling, even more silent, no local emissions. Yeah, and then when you get to the next like traffic light situations, you can just roll and roll again, traffic light red again, green again, and so on, and you're not emitting anything all the time. So that's another advantage definitely for that. And yeah, I mean, range-wise, the figures that are given here are usually also pretty realistic. It's always nice, by the way, also to put in the GPS in the full view here, so you can play around with that and have it good, maybe have it more zoomed in right here with the left thumb, and maybe more zoomed out here for a wider perspective in the middle. That's always something you can do very well too. So obviously their approach is here, let the car do what it wants to do, and that might be probably right what the car wants to do. So it's definitely an interesting approach. So all the general positives about the A7: great steering and agile driving, handling, and so on. A lot of fun to drive, very elaborate, comfortable, really silent. Do I miss the all-wheel or the rear axle steering? Yeah, maybe a little bit, because especially like when you have a turning circle that is being reduced by a meter with the rear axle steering. Not available here in the PHEV due to packaging reasons. What the hell is that doing there? Yeah, but we can say the brakes are also being applied very well. So that was a good test for that. And you maybe also heard the acoustic warning. So if I would have missed it at some point or so, then the car at least would have told me. And there's also this autonomous emergency brake, which is standard with this car, that would have been applied also, just in the emergency case. Road was all straight and not sure what was happening there. Sometimes strange things happen on the roads. Maybe a car reviewer was testing the brakes, I don't know. We didn't. We did, but we broke later than they did. So getting off here and again having a lot of fun driving the car around, and especially in the electric drive mode. Of course you ask yourself, why isn't there an all-electric A7 yet? Yeah, that's a tough question. Because that could maybe, be like Tesla Model S, but then Audi alike with their build quality and so on. That would be nice. I always say, when you have your infrastructure fixed for charging, most of the time the all-electric vehicles then already make more sense than the PHEVs. The PHEVs really make sense when you're not sure yet 100% about the electric mobility, and when you don't have the best charging infrastructure, or maybe just sometimes have it wherever you are situated, or maybe sometimes want to use a public charging station or something. So this could be a transition as for that. Yeah, now it seems to be like, let's see, I'm gonna do this acceleration. Let's see. So we're doing right here, we're going to the dynamic mode. And we have everything activated. And also I want to accelerate out of the corner. So we do two things now, acceleration test, and what about this all-wheel drive? Wet road and accelerating out of the corner. Let's go. That was 85. Seriously? Wow. And did you hear like this electric boost? That was amazing. This is a performance car, guys. It's a performance car, really. A 2-liter 4-cylinder engine in a A7, and it's a performance car. No doubt about that. And that felt very agile. And there was no, understeering, no spin on the front axle. Remember, this one, the Quattro Ultra. With the normal cars, we tend to say the normal Quattro drive with 40-60 rear wheel bias, then is somehow better. But this one here feels very light and agile. And there is a maximum of 50% torque transport to the rear wheels. But that went pretty quickly. And we had the electric drive and wet road. But still no traction loss whatsoever. Great acceleration and out of the corner. I mean, I did not have like a torque steer push from the rear axle. That's not gonna happen here. But there was no negative effect. A very neutral and balanced acceleration out there. That's pretty cool. What do you say, Jonas?
It's fun.
Jonas always very calm and collected. I'm always talking all the time. Yeah, that's my job, okay, but yeah, maybe as a cameraman, he also needs to be more calm and collected. Well, there was an RS6, right? Previous generation saying there. Nice blue color. Not sure if you could pick that up on that camera here. So of course, when you're testing so many cars, you always look out for special cars on the road. And I drove that one 5 years ago, or this is a really nice car. That one has a great history. And that's always fun, of course, to discuss it then with car enthusiasts like you are as well. So great performance from this A7 PHEV, and having so much fun in here. And then we can get back here to the city, and yeah, with picking the driving modes, not too happy about that. Some like Porsche, and where else did we see that besides Porsche, like with the driving mode selector here now on the steering wheel? Yeah, Mercedes introduced it as well. Thank you, Jonas. Jonas becoming a car expert as well. Just by, he's watching all our reviews, like live. Wait a minute. Jonas is the first person to ever watch Autogefühl. That's an exclusive viewer spot, right? Jonas, always in the front row. So, going back to the auto mode, because here when being in a city surrounding, I rather want to shut down the emissions, and also wanted to have it a little bit more silent from people from the outside. Yeah, of course, above 30 or 40 kilometers an hour, the tire noises are louder anyway. Still, it would make a difference if we would drive an RS7 through the village here, or the A7 PHEV, And this effect that the electric vehicles or the PHEVs are more silent is different from the inside, because on the inside I had the experience that about 70, 80 kilometers an hour, you still feel more silent than with the combustion engines, because the rolling noises from the tires are being blocked by the good insulation and so on. And The A7 feels definitely agile, so I don't miss the rear axle steering that much as I did now in the Q7, which did not have it. Still, it's a long car, and reducing the turning circle would be a very cool effect. And it feels more agile with the rear axle steering, yes. But since the A7 is already pretty agile anyway and feels sporty, it's something you can also live without. Yeah, it's like, how can anyone see if the car is coming, you know? It's like strange construction side. So you can live without, definitely, if you are in narrow surroundings and so on. You have a problem in your basement garage, then the rear axle steering definitely helps, but this A7 is still, yeah, it's really so much fun. Yeah, when you push it a little bit too far, then the combustion engine gets being activated. Let's switch to that mode again, where I can see that. There it is. But a little bit more punch possible than with the Q7 PHEV, definitely. Maybe, I don't know, this different concept here with the Quattro Ultra or something. And they told me the rear axle is not always running with it, even though if just the front is being used, they can really be decoupled, and that could be more efficient, you know. But no, this visualization does not show it, I think, because at the moment right now we're just rolling. This should actually be just front wheel drive. It's all electric, but it shows that it would be on all four wheel. I'm not sure if the visualization also keeps track of the front wheel with all wheel drive. I think not. But definitely here for the rolling and coasting again, the pure electric drive is totally sufficient. And the fuel or energy consumption here, I mean, we had a big acceleration, then we also had calm driving, and here it says 5 liters or more kilometers and about 20 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. And this kilowatt figure consumption is somewhat realistic, definitely. We can also reset it and see what would be the minimum when you set cruise control. Here now 70 kilometers an hour. Now, by the way, I have the cruise control set in at the moment, and it's reducing the speed just a little bit because the next village is coming, which is like 50 kilometers an hour speed limit. Now also the traffic sign recognition is being active. Speed is being reduced to 50 kilometers. Flawless. That's a great assistance system. Really nice. Maybe it's sometimes you would maybe miss it also. Then you're being reminded of that. Also good against speeding tickets, because it's a lot of fun to drive with the car. You also like to drive a little bit faster sometimes. Yeah, sorry about that. So is assistance systems, can you actually, keep you a little bit safer than from those speeding tickets. The real fuel consumption for a PHEV is always really hard to calculate, always saying that in those reviews, and especially the combustion engine fuel consumption, because then you would need to deplete the battery completely. Sometimes we have that on the driving events because the car is actually depleted from the battery. Then you cannot test the battery drive that well, but you can better test the pure consumption from the combustion engine. Yeah, it's always tricky to do it when you have just limited time with the car. You can better do that when you have it for a full week or two. So if you're interested in a certain PHEV review, which is say I want like a long term, like 1 or 2 weeks, experience with that, then just ask us. You can always feel free to ask in the comments for next reviews, which reviews are missing, which one do you want to see. RS7 maybe, didn't drive that one yet. Do you want to see that? Then put it in the comments. Or maybe then, more of the electric vehicles or the PHEVs, which are more and more coming and evolving, and they're making more and more progress. And I think that's really good, because we also want to show you some alternative drivetrains. We not only try to give you more insight on alternative interior materials, which are more sustainable, of course on drivetrains, which are more sustainable, which is of course highly debated, and you can argue pro and con, as for also energy use in production and so on. But I say, there's no black and white answer for the electric cars or the PHEV yet. It's more about the use case. There are some use cases where the electric vehicles do not make sense at the moment, and others where they perfectly make sense. Depends on your driving profile indeed. And again, the more I drive electric with the A7, the more I wish we had an all-electric A7. I could just recharge and that's it. it would perfectly fit also to that vehicle. You know, that's there will be, of course, at some point be something like that, but also at Audi. But I would drive this car all electric all the time. You know, I don't see any reason. You know, this behaves so perfectly. I don't see any reason why we would need a combustion engine in this car anymore. If you know the range could be realized. But so far, this is as good as it gets for an A7. It is cool. Would I recommend it here in comparison to the other drivetrains? I think yes. It's more interesting to use. I mean, if you can recharge from time to time, that's pretty cool. You can even save money, not only with some you know, benefits or subsidiaries if you have something like that, but also fuel consumption wise, either using it pure electric, or if you then, oh, there's this charging station here, for example, in the city. Yeah, Jonah, throw around some stuff here. No problem. We are live on stage here, right? No, we are good. Yeah, so definitely very interesting insights here once again, and those PHEV reviews are also for us even, you know, a little bit more interesting always than just the pure combustion engine. So great performance, great from the PHEV as well. Then calmness in the ride, even more than with this electric drivetrain or semi-electric drivetrain. Now the water bottles it is, right? Yeah, good that you don't hear anything that happens on camera. So I think Jonas and I will now search for some outside shooting spots for this car. And oh yeah, last thing to mention, because now the road is a little bit heavy on us here. We have the adaptive suspension here, so there is difference between dynamic and comfort mode as for the stiffness and so on, but it's doing such a great job, sporty and comfortable at the same time. Indeed, it is that well done, this adaptive suspension, that I can say you do not need an air suspension in this car to make it more comfortable. It's perfect just as it is suspension-wise. And here, rear view camera, by the way, with a fake drone from above, great resolution, also with the helping lines. This also helps you pretty much with the car. And now I kept the electric consumption, you know, pretty low, and this is then 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, where you can score minimum. I think, yeah, and then of course, as I reset it, 0 fuel so far. Why not? And in the rain, we say goodbye here for today with our conclusion of the Audi A7 as the PHEV version. It always looks great when those raindrops are on the car, especially if it's such a beautiful one like this. And this rear 3/4 perspective is also one of my favorite ones of the A7. In general, definitely a beautiful car from the exterior. Of course, today also special in Tango Red. Yeah, the Tango. And the interior, high build quality, still too much animal skin use. You can avoid some of that, told you earlier of that, but still they need to change something there. And it is still a car where you can combine sportiness and, you know, this agile drive with some interior space, especially with this fastback opening. The agile driving is, you know, in general, very good for the A7. The adaptive suspension, superb. You don't need anything more, actually. Both comfort and sportiness. Such a fun ride. And especially here with the PHEV, we have some nice electric boost. Even if you drive pure electric, it is actually enough. And most of the stuff you can drive pure electric in your everyday driving life. That's also where the PHEV can make sense, especially if you can recharge. And you maybe have like a short commuting way to work or something like that. At the same time, this is also some kind of a performance version, especially in the higher horsepower trim, because together the combustion engine and the electric drivetrain combined, I mean, was giving us a serious boost. So that was a lot of fun there as well. And although there's not the classic quattro drive with the rear wheel bias, which is somehow cool, of course, for the A7, but still, you know, together with this electric boost and the good traction control, there was no understeering, no traction loss, although we have really wet conditions here today, which you obviously can see. Really great accelerating out of the corner. That was positively surprising here for me today. Electric consumption, yeah, you know, something 20 kilowatt hours, 100 kilometers or plus. That is also normal for those big cars in this region, so even had a little bit more with the Audi e-tron, for example. And the real fuel consumption, it really depends on how much you use this electric drivetrain or not. And if you want to know more about the pure combustion engines of the A7, we have several reviews. We will link them in the video description, also in the pinned comment. So tune into those. See you there, and thanks for tuning in today. Please discuss this car in the comments.